Okay, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started on time. For those of you that came last month, we know we had a few issues and you had to wait for us to start our program, and we apologize for that. But we're happy to have you all back again today, and to our new visitors who've come for this special program. I'm Phyllis Bittner. I'm a trustee here at the Miners Hall Museum, and I happen to be hosting the Croatian quarterly exhibit along with the ladies from Strawberry Hill Cultural Center and Museum in Kansas City. They were kind enough to bring many beautiful artifacts, and so we hope you'll take a few minutes to go back and visit. It's over in that corner of the museum, and then you're welcome to also view our entire museum after the program. We also have had some other contributors who brought other items, and George happens to be one of those. He brought a lot of beautiful artifacts, musical and otherwise, that are on display in a case back there. And the Yavni family also brought some items, artifacts and things, so they are also in our exhibit, so we invite you to take a look at them. And they are actually from Croatia. And so you might want to visit with them sometime throughout the day today. We'd like to just welcome George. I'll keep it short on my end. We're glad that you are all here today. Most of you probably know George and know of his amazing talents. And we are so happy that he agreed to come and share his love of Croatia and the music and the culture and all of the history. So I know you're going to enjoy this program. So I'll just turn it over to George, and he'll give you a little history about himself and start his program. Thank you for coming.
Yeah. Phyllis? Well, I want to thank everybody for coming today. I know it's NFL Sunday, and it's there's a lot of competition going out there with other things to do. And but anyway, I want to say thanks to everybody for coming out. I'm George Barberich. I'm originally from Kansas City, Kansas. So those of you that are familiar with that part of the world up there, I grew up on an area called Strawberry Hill. And Strawberry Hill overlooks the Kansas City, Missouri skyline. And right across the river from the school and the church and the auditorium and the bowling alley and everything there at St. John's, the Kansas City airport was right across the river. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that exciting stuff when how we made the record albums and all the distractions that went on during all that time. But anyway, I'm going to start off with something that's really real Croatian. And when I performed with the St. John's Tamburitzans in Kansas City, we were modeled after the Duquesne University Tamburitzans, and they were located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. They travel the world. So 40 musicians will be there performing, and they do about 80 shows a year all over the world. And when 10 seniors graduate, they bring in 10 freshmen, and the cycle continues. Each year they continue. And back in the late 30s, when the Second World War got going, there weren't any guys in the group because they were all in the service. And so it was mostly women in the Tamburitzans for about 3 or 4 years. And then the guys came back in. And what I want to do, I was going to show you a little Tamburitza performance by Duquesne University. The first couple, the Tamburitza is a Croatian instrument. So they named themselves after the Croatian heritage and the instrument, but they do a lot of other things. So you're going to see a little bit of Croatia, and for those of you that like the button box and Slovenian stuff, there's going to be one quick video of that, and then the other one is going to be the Serbian. And of all of the nationalities that we performed and studied under, the Serbians was the toughest as far as dance and as far as music. It was very, very complicated. And as you'll see here, those of you that like bluegrass, country bluegrass, we leave the mandolin players in that arena in the dust. So you'll see a little flashy firework with the hands, and then you're going to see the dance and the hours of practice. We practiced as a group up there about 15 hours a week. So that was a lot. And then if you threw in the sports that we were all playing, football, basketball, 3-2 baseball up there, there was a lot of competition going on. And Don Lipovac was our, some of you probably remember Don. down in this area. He'd come to Big Brutus and Tower Ballroom and performed here. At one time, he was the third best accordion player in the United States, and number one in the United States, third in the world. So we had pretty good pedigree there as far as learning, and he expected nothing but the best from us. So if we didn't do something right, we kept it going until we did get it right. And anyway, we started in 1966, and if any of you can remember the social climate that was going on about that time when we had the...
Sorry.
Thank you, JT. I'll give you the cue here in just a second. I appreciate it. Hey, let's give JT a real round of applause. He's been the one that's helped me a bunch on this. He's my super high-powered technician. Without him, this wouldn't be happening. But anyway, back in the mid-'60s, if you guys recall, there was a gentleman by the name of Dr. Martin Luther King who was assassinated. So when I was growing up, my dad happened to be a detective in Kansas City for about 28 years. So life was a little bit tough there. We went through a lot of security. All of our performances, we had high levels of security there. Whenever we traveled, and I'll get into that a little bit later, but when we traveled, we had security when we traveled or performed anywhere, and until things kind of calmed down years later. But there was a lot of issues in KCK with, unfortunately, there was a lot of vandalism, a lot of disturbance, a lot of rioting. And so we had to be very careful being out in the general public during that time period. And I think at that time I was probably in like the 6th or 7th grade. So we were just, when we all started, we were pretty much either late grade school or early high or through high school. So the group, there was 40 of us in the performing group, and there was a total of about 450 went through the program. And so those 10 that Duquesne University would recruit every year, they were the 10 best in the world. And out of the Tamburitzans in Kansas City, 6 of us got to that level. I did not attend there, and Phil Ashley did not go. And we had one lady that was an excellent, excellent preem player, which I'm holding here. This is a preem. She was probably one of the best talented people in the group, and she wanted to go to Duquesne. But my mom said to me, she said, well, she's a little pleasingly plump. So when you see the video here, you don't see too many pleasingly plump people in the Duquesne University performance. So you had to be very good on the instruments. If you could play tamburitza, an accordion, and button box, and a couple of other instruments, you had a high degree of possible for success to go there. I did not really care for the dancing. I was all right playing and singing, but that was about the extent of it, although we did have to do some dancing. I will tell you this, the instructors for Duquesne University would go to the NFL training camps, and when you see this video up here, you're going to see why, but they basically trained these players, these athletes, to avoid knee injuries, and they got them to do exercises, and they said there was a few of them brought tears to their eyes. And I just imagine these tough football players sitting there going, we can't take any more of this. And so anyway, well, I'll tell you what, JT, go ahead and roll. This is going to be the Duquesne University Tamburitzans in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. This is at Heinz Hall, and they make a little product called ketchup. So the millions of dollars that they put to sponsor the Duquesne University Tamburitzans since 1937 all came from their trust and their donations. So anyway, go ahead, let her roll. BT. BT. Just a little bit. Take these lights down? No, I mean the overhead lights. Well, just this side.
You don't need lights here.
What you're going to see next is going to be actually a kolo dance. The kolo dance is the circle dance. It's kind of the national dance of the Croatian people. And you're going to get to see some pretty good footwork in here. All right, Kathleen, this one's for you. JT. This is the Serbian stuff here. This is probably the toughest things that we ever had to do. Gene, I could get you the sheet music that for accordion if you'd like. Yeah. Now you know why we practiced, even as a group, 15 hours a week. We would do this. And Monday nights were dance class. Saturdays, Sundays was all instrumental. And then sometimes Wednesday, Thursday, they do work on vocals. And some of these old Croatian ballads were they were love songs. And we would be practicing, and Don would stand up there and he goes, Jim, I want you to do this again. And the rest of us were like, oh my God, you're like pulling eye teeth, you know, it was a lot of work. And I'll tell you, when we made our record albums in Kansas City, we looked just like this on stage. We had the costumes and we had actually wire belts around us that we would hold on to, because the poor guy on the end of some of those Serbian dances would go flying in the air, and you just held on for dear life. I mean, we've had people get hurt. I mean, it can happen. Anyway, right across the river from St. John's is the airport. And when we started making these record albums, I said, Don, why don't we play in the school library, because it's got good acoustics and we don't hear any outside noise. He said, nope. He said, we perform concerts on this stage, and by God, we're going to record the albums on this stage. I said, okay. So anyway, we'd have some of these tough pieces, and you'll hear some of it here in a little bit. And anyway, pretty soon, depending on which way the wind was blowing, the jets would come in, and Don would just wave his arms, and we'd have to stop. And one of the tough pieces was a piece called Russian Fantasy. It was originally like 7 pages long, and he condensed it down to 4 pages for us. It was kind of him. And we got to going, and we had the microphones around us, and you had to have like 15 seconds of silence before you start, 15 seconds of silence when you're done. And we got right to the end of that piece, and I got a cramp in my leg, and I kicked the music stand, and over it went. And the big Tomasic and Mihalsic and them guys in the back, Barberich, you're toast, you know, because they thought we were going to have to do all this all over again. And back then we didn't know that they could splice, you know, first half of the song with the second half of a different version of it, and you didn't, to the human ear, you didn't notice any difference. And I'm just sweating bullets. I knew these guys they were gonna do me in after that, because it took us about 18 hours to get 10 songs. So you can imagine the stress that was. And anyway, when we boarded buses, one of our fun trips was a trip to a city called Omaha, Nebraska. And when the Tamburitzans got started, I might back up here just a second, our parents got together and they said, you know, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania's got a junior Tamburitza group, and Chicago's got a junior Tamburitza group, and St. Louis has a junior Tamburitza. How come we don't have one? So that's where that all got started. And we created a monster, basically. And we'd put performances on in St. John's Auditorium. It couldn't hold the crowd, so then we went to Wyandotte High School Auditorium. And anyway, then we started taking trips, and the nuns at St. John's, when we first started, they thought, oh, the cute little Tamburitzans, look at them, they're just so cute, and they're so nice, and this and that. Well, as we got older and we started taking trips, then it was like, well, you know, they're half boys, half girls in that group, and they're going on trips out of town. So then they went screaming to Monsignor and said, hey, you know, we think there's too much boy-girl contact with the Tamburitzans, and by God, you know, we think you need to do something about it. And so Duquesne came in, and they were helping teach us basically the dance stuff, because Don did all the music. And anyway, we had to wear white V-neck T-shirts and white gym shorts. So when we were backstage, we could change costumes, and nobody was offended. So the nuns, we put the nuns' minds to rest about this much, but partially. So anyway, they were worried about us. They thought it was too much exposure. And so anyway, we boarded these buses, and there was 3 big charter buses. The first bus was all Tamburitzans, all of us kids. Second bus was moms and dads and siblings. And the third bus was another charter bus full of well-wishers. So it was about, 70 people on each bus. Well, this bus number 2 and bus number 3 had adult libations on there. So by the time you leave Kansas City, it's about a 2.5-hour bus ride to Omaha, Nebraska. And we get there, and the moms and dads and all the other well-wishers, they were suffering from the 2 H's. They were happy and they were hungry. So the Croatian ladies in Omaha fixed us this huge meal, and we haven't done the food cultural stuff yet here. Anyway, they have a meal called sarma. It's S-A-R-M-A, commonly known around here as pig in the blanket. It's ground beef wrapped in boiled cabbage, and they put toothpicks in it, and they put it in a pressure cooker, and they have this sauce that goes over it. Well, here comes all of these Croatian women from Omaha, and we get off the buses, and we're coming in, oh, look at the tempo. Oh, follow, we're so glad you're here, and blah, blah, blah. And they said, you guys got to eat. And I thought, uh-oh. And so anyway, we went ahead and they fed us this huge meal, and all the other people, I mean, I don't know how many, they were there 2 days ahead of time cooking so that they'd had enough food for everybody. And we, like, growing boys and stuff, we packed that stuff away like there's no tomorrow. Well, we got on stage about an hour later, and there's 40 of us confined on stage. And I'm not a chemist or I'm not a gastro expert by any stretch, but you can imagine the chemistry that was going on. And Dave Peresic was standing there, because we all kind of stood side by side, and you always had your spot on stage. And anyway, he looks over at me and he says, George, how are you feeling? I said, not too good, Dave. And we had to sweat through that 2 hours. And we told the higher ups, don't ever do that to us again. If you do, we quit. We're not going to go through that. So you never eat before a performance like that. It's just a no-no. And then lo and behold, we had another bus trip to a little city called Independence, Kansas. Now, we all kind of looked at one another and said, there ain't one Croatian in Independence, Kansas. What on earth are they doing getting us to go put a show on there? So we board the bus, and it was our regular charter bus had some problems or something, so they put us on this real dinky small bus. And some of these guys in our group were as big as Travis Kelce. They're big boys, and so they're all griping about it's just things, we're packed in here, this is just griping the whole time. So we get there, and the place is crowded. The auditorium's full. Where they got these people to come to this, I have no idea. But anyway, one of the performances, when we do our performances, the last set is a Russian dance. And toward the end of that dance, the girls are in front, and then they took 2 guys with a board in the back behind them, and they put Steve Stanfill on that board. And they would throw him up in the air. He would do a spread eagle, land, do squat kicks, curtain closes, show's over. Well, I'm playing timbres and playing the music, and I'm kind of watching him, getting him ready to go up over those girls, and he goes up in the air and lands, and I hear this snap. And I thought, uh-oh. And he said, close the curtain. And he shattered his ankle. So now keep in mind, we're on this little dinky bus, and we have to go to the hospital. And we take Steve Stanfill to the hospital to have him get a plaster cast put on his leg for this. And here's all the big guys in the back going, he can get a cab back to Kansas City. Let's get this bus rolling. We're out of here. And we had to wait like 3 hours and anyway, it was, we never went back to Independence, Kansas. That was the end of that. But anyway, we had fun doing it. It was, I think when the folks got together, my dad being a police officer and stuff, there was 3 things that they were wanting to accomplish. One was obviously maintain the heritage and the music and the dance and the vocals. Secondly, it kept us kids off the streets. It really did. And then it taught us commitment, dedication, and the ability to put our minds to practicing every day. So I practiced about 3 hours a day for quite a few years. And we got good at it. I'm just going to tell you, we had a very talented group, and then I think my sophomore year we moved down to southeast Kansas, and they're like, George, you sure you don't want to stay with one of your uncles and aunts and you keep playing timbres with us for at least 3 more years? And then Don set it up to where I was going to have a scholarship opportunity to go to Duquesne University, and I thought, well, it was that or KU, and then I looked around. I said, Pitt State's not all bad. I'm going to go there. So I went ahead and went to Pitt State, and I did take a beginning guitar class, there at Pitt my senior year, and I was needing 3 hours of electives, so I went in and I took that, and I was practicing upstairs in one of the practice rooms in McCrae Hall, and the instructor walked by and he said, "George, what are you doing in that class?" I said, "All right, look, I'm going to level with you." He said, "I needed 3 hours of easy A, and your time slot fit the bill." And he goes, "I'll give you your A under one condition," because I needed it to graduate. And he says, "Will you help tutor the class?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll do that for you." So I got my A and got out of there. Dodged that bullet. But then when we moved down here, I started playing with greats like Johnny Ziebert, Joe Napodi, Bobby Stewart, John Yoder. And I was telling them of all the people that I played with in this area, there was one guy that I thought would have made a really, really good tambourist, and that was Jarbo Watson. Jarbo was playing, he was playing banjo with and guitar with Joe Napodi. And I said, he's got the knack for this. If we'd had the time to be able to pursue it, he would have been able to play a broch. And so anyway, I don't do it much anymore. Everything I do now is just for a hobby. And I play a little bit with Johnny Joe Ziebert here. And we go around and I'll play plectrum banjo. Because once you learn timbres and stuff, you can adapt to about anything. So you learn guitar, you learn bass guitar, you learn keyboard, you can do anything. And so then I went and spent a little time with Don up in Kansas City, and I said, I've always been fascinated with a button box. And so that's when I went up and spent some time with him, and he said, just go back to Pittsburgh. He said, you know what you're doing. He said, just practice. I thought, oh, I've practiced enough in my life. But anyway, it's been fun. I'm going to let you listen to a little bit of the recordings that we did as a group. Okay, this is back when the Jets were coming over the auditorium, and yeah. So the first one, actually the first piece we're going to do is actually these kids are from Croatia, and I'm going to lay off a part of it because I want you to hear this kid. He's 16 years old, and you talk about leaving. He left me in the dust. And back then, when I was 16, we was pretty proficient at this, but this kid is phenomenal. I don't know how old he is now, but anyway, we're going to give you a little rendition of this so you can hear it. Oh, yeah. Come on. Come on, Curtin. Don't do a Barberich on me here.
George, they're not drinking vodka while they go.
unfortunately, I did not have the sheet music to this. So if I did, I could probably, if I practiced at it, I could play that interlude in there where he's like 100 miles an hour. Sure I can. Okay. What's coming up next is going to be the St. John's Tamburissons. This is off of the recordings here. Oh, by the way, you guys, if you want to do that, see some of this stuff at home, if you just go on YouTube and type in Duquesne University Tamburissons, and you'll see like 6 or 7 concerts in there. I will tell you that some of the older shows are a little bit, the quality, they're old. So, I mean, it's old analog recording, old analog video. It's not digital. And the ones you saw here today are a little bit newer. That one's probably 30 years old. So, and also the Duquesne University Tamburissons are really no longer the Duquesne University Tamburissons. They're just the Tamburissons. And the reason they did that was because they wanted to be able to have kids come from other schools. You didn't have to attend school at Duquesne. Before, you had to be there for their scholarship and take their studies, and you rode the bus and the airplanes and everything. They put on about, like I said, 80 shows a year. They practice for 6 weeks, about 12 hours a day before the concert starts, and then they put the same show on. And we did the same thing. We put the same show on wherever we went, because that way we didn't have to relearn everything. Then I found out that our bass players were cheating and putting sheet music on the back of their upright bass. And I thought, that's not fair. You know, the rest of us have to memorize this stuff, and you guys are sloughing off. But anyway, the first song here is going to be called Dewey Dewey. That's D-U-J, D-U-J. And it's one of the kind of the intermediate flashy pieces that we did as Tamburissons. And then we're going to do the theme from Dr. Zhivago. You get to listen to that. So anyway, here we go. That's me. as nimble as I was back when I was 16, 17. This is the theme from Dr. Chicago. I'm not going to tackle that one. That's Russian fantasy there. It takes quite a while. I don't want to take up all your time. I'm going to do one here that it's Lipovac's bunch that they did what they call a typical Croatian wedding. So you'll get to hear. And I will tell you this, the Tamburicans and the Croatian people, when somebody got married, I don't know if any of you have ever been up to like the National Guard Armory in KCK. It's there at 18th and Ridge. And anyway, it can hold like 2,500 people. And if we had a Croatian wedding, they'd practically fill that. If you went to the wedding mass, there was maybe 50 people in church. And then you went to the reception, and there's like 1,500. And you could put all the gifts from them 1,500 people on a small coffee table. The rest, it was all cash. So they were able to buy a home, buy a car, they could furnish their home, they got started, and that's how they did it. And the other thing about the Croatians was if somebody's parents got sick, everybody chipped in and they helped take care of the kids. You know, so nobody was left stranded or in a pinch or anything like that. So it was never a problem. And like I said, they've always had food cooking in the house. All of those little houses were, I swear to God, they had surround sound back in the 60s. Because if it was summertime and the windows were open and everybody was watching the same television program, you could hear it in all the houses around. And so anyway, it was fun growing up in that era, but like I said, you know, the social discord was a little bit rough, but you know, we managed to get through it and nobody got impaired or anything like that. So this next piece is going to be the Croatian wedding. I had to practice more running this tape deck than I did.
At a typical Croatian wedding reception, it is the custom for the guests to present the bride and groom with gifts of money. The song associated with this custom is called the Barberich.
This is where everybody would come up and give their envelopes, you know, piled 2 by 2, husband and wife going up. They'd see the bride and groom and they'd give them the envelopes in a big basket. Dad would spend a lot of time counting money at the end of the night because there was thousands of dollars and a lot of money. Mladence Plešite, the bride and groom. This was the first song we learned on tambourines right here. Hallelujah. Of all the music that we played, I have to honestly say that polka was the easiest. I said, thank you. When we moved down here, well, this is walk in the park, you know, it was easy. The next song is going to be one off of our other Timbers album. I know we're getting close on time here, and I want to allow for questions and answers, but this is a really, really pretty Croatian song, and I think the Slovenians did it too. We got to give them some credit. What a tough crowd, ain't it? You know, when we was growing up, my mom and dad would say, you can marry whoever you want as long as she's not Serbian. What the hell does that got to do with the price of tea in China right now? I'm the kid, you know. Let's leave it, you know. Okay.
As long as they're not from Frontenac, they said around here.
Yeah. My lovely little wife comes from Arma. And she's Slovenian, by the way. we're short on time here. Does anybody have any questions or anything, all this stuff that we went through? Yes?
I do. With the different Barberich, I guess they each have their own name.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Well, Joe covered this back a few weeks ago, but anyway, the small ones, like this here, and this one here, they're called preems, okay? And I've got a brach, which technically means brother, but this instrument is an octave lower than the little one. And then we have a cello, and then we have a Bugatti. Bugatti, it just keeps rhythm, you know, just all they do is just bass chord, bass chord, bass chord, bass chord. I mean, that's their job. So they had it easy, huh?
4 strings, all of them?
Yeah, they're tuned G, D, A, E, just like a bass guitar. Regular guitar would have another E and a B on the high end, on the high-pitched end. And what we have is 2 Gs, 2 Ds, and an A and an E. So we have the 2 strings are doubled for the purposes of tremolo. So we can tremolo, you know, you get that roll sound. And see, if you can count to 4 and you know your alphabet from A to G, you can get pretty good at reading the sheet music. It's not that hard. So just the circle on the sheet music it got 4 counts as a whole note. And then if it had a stem on it with an open circle, it was a half note, so it got 2 counts. So 2 of those equaled one of the big ones. And then if it had a dot all filled in, that was a quarter note, so 4 of those made one of the others. So anyway, it wasn't that hard until they got into 16th and 32nd notes. And, you know, there was more black on the paper than there was white. And Don would have us all individually play so that he knew that we could handle it. If you couldn't, you know, you'd hear things like, how come Barberich is always on the front row? Well, you know, those of us that practiced more, we got on the front row, and those that didn't, they got shoved back in the back on the stage. And but anyway, it was fun. We had a lot of good times, and it was interesting, and it taught us a lot of disciplines of life early on. Pay attention, you know, be prompt, be on time, know everything that you need to be known, that needs to be known in these programs. And and if we didn't do it right, guess what we had to do? We did it again, and then we'd do it again, and we'd do it until he was satisfied. So anyway, yes?
How do these dances traditionally fit into the culture? Is it something that people come together to watch them do it on a stage, or is there a bar?
It's a lot of what you saw there with the cola dancing and stuff. That's typically done at like the weddings. And it's a showpiece, and the people that perform, they pretty much know what they're doing. So it ain't like polka dancing where you can just jump in on the dance floor and start dancing and everybody's fine. You step in on one of these and you're going to get twirled around or knocked down or God knows what all. So, you know, it was very I guess the word I'd look for would be, it was structured. And but that was their culture. I mean, that was their entertainment, and that's how. And a lot of this stuff you saw on there, you know, if you go and watch some of the other concerts and stuff, you'll see it. They're flirtatious. You know, the guys are trying to impress the girls, and the girls are trying to impress the guys. And you know, that was their. I don't want to use the term mating observation, but anyway, you know, if somebody caught their eye, you know, catch your eye or whatever, they'd pay attention. You know, so. Anyway, around here it was called work. We had to, it was work for us to sit and do that, and so you had to have plenty of energy, but we didn't eat before the show. And anyway, them old timers, they had basically 3 things. They had food, plenty of food. They had their religion, and they had one another. And that was it. That's how they survived. So like I said, if anybody got sick or something happened, somebody else would chip in and take care of the kids, or even a sibling, you know, something. If they needed help, they were there. And that was one nice thing about the Croatians, you know, they helped one another out all the time. Yeah, Gene.
What brought them all to Strawberry Hill? What was
The primary labor market there was the meat packing industry. There was a company there called Cuddy Hayes down there by the river, and then a lot of them wound up working at you know, the GM plant in Fairfax. And then Kansas City, Kansas is primarily just a big bureaucratic town. There's no county there. So when we had guys run for county commissioner here in Crawford County. They go, well, Wyandotte County doesn't have it. They only got 3 sheriff guys. I said, that's because there's no county. You know, you got here, you go 10 miles to a town and another 10 miles to another town. Well, it's town from end to end. So, and now the western part of it, when we were in scouts and stuff, it has really developed. They've got the racetrack there now. They've got Legends there. They've got Cabela's, and I mean the economic boom that has hit there has been pretty substantial for that city. So, and they're cleaning up a lot of it now. You know, a lot of Mexicans in there. I mean, the areas where we live, they're still, and I lived right off of Central Avenue, so I could walk to St. John's or St. Joseph's or Holy Family or any of those places, and we could. I'm sorry?
Tough area.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there was homicides there. Life was, Dad would get the call and he'd have to leave, and they'd go chase somebody or do something. Yes?
How much black presence did you have?
Fairly substantial, not real bad. They didn't invade Strawberry Hill too much. And I say that with a kind of not a derogatory term, but they just didn't penetrate that downtown.
I mean living on Strawberry Hill. Did you have any black people living?
Oh, there was a few. I mean, but maybe 1 out of every 100. It was pretty sparse.
There were a lot of Italians though, too.
Yeah, they got an Italian community, they got a Serbian community, they got a Slovenian community at Holy Family. That's where Don all them was.
What kind of dances did they do at the dance hall?
You had a combination of this. A lot of it was polka, and the Slovenians they liked their polkas, and the Croatians liked their tamburces and kolo dances. So it was a mixture of that. So they'd always come up and say, "Well, next 30 minutes we're going to have a kolo set." So well, if you know how to circle dance, you could join. If not, stay in your seat. You know, but yes.
If you go to that part of the world now, do they play this kind of music much, or is this mainly old music?
And when you say, you mean back in Croatia?
Yes, Slovenia.
When they went, the year that we moved down here from Kansas City, the Tamburitsans went to Europe. They went and did a tour of Croatia. And they said, "George, come on, go with us." And I said, "Well, you know, I didn't practice with you guys, and I didn't think it was fair." Well, I probably messed up. I should have went. And, you know, it would have been a good experience. But when they came back, I said, "Well, you know, were the streets filled with tambourines and music and this and that?" Hell no, it was all rock and roll. You know, and when we were on those buses, you know, we'd have headsets in the Walkmans, and we were listening to Grand Funk Railroad and Black Sabbath and Jimi Hendrix, and then we were trying to emulate on these things, and Don would blow a gasket because he wanted us to practice tambourines on those buses, and I'm like, geez, you know. Can a guy get arrested, you know, for a couple hours, you know, we don't have to do this. But, yeah, we had some hassles with that. But as far as over there, it was mostly rock and roll. I mean, they still have the tambourines groups, but it's kind of like anything else, you know. If the young ones don't start doing it, it's going to just go by the wayside. But, yes?
George, where do you get your instruments?
The instrument I'm holding here is a broch. Guy by the name of Charlie Valentich in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, made these tambourines, and they were probably some of the best instruments that I've ever put my hands on. And he was good, and he made all of the instruments. If you saw on the video there, most of these instruments look like this here. He's noted his marking is the little flower with the pearl inlay on them and everything, and that's what they made. They have skyrocketed in price now, just like button boxes have, accordions. I mean, the good accordions and all that, they're just sky high now. But yeah, these were made. I've got one that was made in Europe, but it's not that good. You know, it's like the Italians tried to make mandolins, and we told them stick to accordions because you do that real well. And to me, the mandolins were dull. That's what we started on when we started playing, and we actually had to tune the G on a mandolin. The G, our tambourine's a G string is an E string on a mandolin. So we had to raise it 3 half steps, those of you that didn't have music in there. Well, guess what was happening every so often? Snapping strings. Poor Joanne, she was sitting there putting strings on half the time. And I'm like, gee, you know, so these things won't break string. I mean, they can, but it's pretty rare. And every once in a while, you'd be on stage and you heard one go pop. Uh-oh. And you'd have to, somebody would run back that wasn't on the next set or whatever, hurry up and change that string and get them back out on stage. But the Russian dance was probably one of the tougher ones, and then the Serbian Šestorka. I just told them I will not be on the end when they go down and we're holding on to one another, because the guy on the end gets flipped around and he's basically up in the air. And I'm like, no, not this boy. Yeah. Yeah.
But you were a dancer, aren't you?
I had to do a little of it, thanks, Gene.
How come you don't demo some of that?
No, not these legs. They're gone. That and the voice, it's all gone. It's all changed. We sounded pretty good on there though when we did the voices there, but yeah, we had to do a good job or we got reprimanded. And all of those costumes that you saw, by the way, our moms would hand stitch and sew all of those they'd spend months embroidering and hand making those costumes. Well, guess what was happening to us guys and stuff, mostly the guys? We were growing. So the next year, you come back and you put a costume on. Well, this doesn't fit anymore. So they had to continuously keep them updated. And what they would do is they put pleats in them so that they could let the leg length out, like an inch or whatever, so that we could. They wizened up a little bit. Are there any other questions? I want to thank you guys very, very much for having me. Yes, I'm sorry.
Are those presentations still going on from the university?
The Tamburitzans are still performing worldwide, yes. I will say this, and they're not as good as they once were. Paul Stafura ran a very, very good Tamburitz operation, and he was wonderful. And some guys didn't like him, but he was strict and disciplined, and you better be, if the bus is leaving at 1 o'clock, you better be there at 1:45 and things like that. So we had to help load buses, and you put those costumes in the cases, and then guess what else got packed? Ironing boards. So guess what the girls got to do when we got to where we were going? You pull them costumes out and they had to iron them all. Go gangbusters. Yeah. Are there any more questions or anything? I know we're getting close on time. Yes?
Is there any crossover from, say, Slovenian music to Croatian and vice versa?
Oh, there's some.
The reason I asked that last song you played, Poizi's Manoj.
Poizi's Manoj.
Slovenian. But I've never heard of it, the Tamburica.
Yeah.
It sound Croatian.
One of the other songs, by the way, if you've ever heard of the group Metallica, sit there and have the amp buzzing behind me. If you ever heard the group Metallica, 2 of them are Croatian in that group. And there's others that, the guys that played the group called Two Cellos, I don't know if any of you ever seen them on, they're phenomenal. But I heard they disbanded, but they were Croatian. And you could just tell that even us kids growing up, we were a slice right out of Saturday Night Live. We were honorary kids. We'd make good grades, but we'd drive those nuns. We'd tax them to the nth degree. And you hear, Barberich, if you don't straighten up, you know where you're going. I said, out of this room? And she said, no, you're going worse than that. And
Is Duquesne associated with any religious order?
it's a Catholic school, yeah. But it's basically a small liberal arts college. But they're well known. They travel all over the world. They perform for kings and queens and royalty of other countries. And Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. If you go on YouTube, if you're kind of computer savvy at all, go onto YouTube and type in Duquesne University Tamburitzans, and then you'll start seeing concerts in there. Type in like Moments in Time, Spotlight. I can't remember them all, but anyway, you'll see those. They're 2-hour shows, so you get to see what the audience was seeing. And like I said, they were the Hines family was kind enough. Over all those years, they paid for the jets to travel to Europe and different parts of the world, and buses all over the United States. They tried to schedule. You'd start in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and by 3 months later, you were in Los Angeles. So, you'd put on a show. They'd come to Kansas City the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, about this time of year, and they'd put on a show. So my mom and dad would let me go because we didn't have school the next day.
They came down here twice.
Yeah, they performed here at Pittsburgh. They also said that our Pittsburgh Memorial Auditorium was one of the nicest stages that they had ever been on
Yeah.
anywhere in the world. That was quite a compliment for that. And that is, and the the Bicknell Center is another fabulous venue for being backstage. It's wonderful. The technology there is great. Johnny Ziebert and I we did a video with Gerald A. Zember there back, I don't know, well, it was during COVID actually.
Yeah.
And, but anyway, we put on a show, and they filmed it there, and I got to go back and where they did all the recording and the taping and dubbing and everything. It was really, I mean, it was high tech. I wish we'd have had that back years ago instead of the airport across the river. But anyway, any other questions or anything? You guys, thank you very much. I'm going to have Phyllis come up. She's got a little bit more to visit about.
I remembered. Okay, I'll be quick. I won't keep you. I just wanted to say thank you so much to George. And this is for you.
Oh, well,
thank you.
you.
We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And for those of you that know music or have studied music at all, you will understand what it takes to play these instruments. And if you will go back in the Croatian exhibit, there's some sheet music, a few samples from Don Lipovac, and just looking at that music, you can see the work that would be involved in learning to play that. And then the biggest takeaway to me from this is that they played without music, so they had to memorize all of this, and it's like stunning. I mean, really, George, you're amazing. I mean, what you do is just absolutely beautiful, and I can't imagine the hours or years of your life.
You know, when we were young, we were playing baseball and stuff, especially in the summertime. My buddies would be on the front porch waiting for me because my mom would make me practice from like 4 to 4:30. Well, practice would start about 4:30 for baseball, and they'd sit on the porch and they would throw that baseball, pop it into their glove, and they'd holler through the window, "Hey George, if you play a little faster, can you get done quicker?" And my mom says, "He's not playing any faster, and if you mess with him, I'm going to make him play another half hour." I say, "Go away, go away."
Well, we appreciate it, and thank you for bringing your talent to us here and sharing it with all of us. So I'm going to have George pick a couple of numbers. We have a little giveaway here. So George, if you will pick a number between 52, this is an odd range. Oh my gosh. Between 52 and 114.
This is totally random now.
If it's
75.
your name, if it's your name, Kathleen. So you have the first gift. This is a jar of fig spread, which fig is a big thing. So it's like marmalade, right? Okay, pick another number between 52 and 114.
109.
Luella.
They sit by one another.
So Luella gets a chocolate bar from Croatia. Yay, Luella.
For those of you that don't know Luella Ziebert, her husband was one of the finest accordion players in this part of the country. Johnny. We spent many hours together. It was a lot of fun.
So we're giving a Slovenian.
Yeah, Croatian.
No.
I always
Yeah.
said, you know, I'm not Slovenian,
Yeah.
but when I married John Ziebert, I became.
Slovenia. The minute I said that, I knew that was wrong. Okay. Our next program is December the 3rd, and it will focus on, it is called Croatian Customs and Cuisine. So two people, Tony Kovac and Janie Hayes from Kansas City, who are associated with Strawberry Hill Museum, will be coming down for that program. So that's sure to be a good one, and I'm sure there'll be some tasty things at that event. And then we also have a little additional surprise that day. We have 2 interns that are working here at the museum from PSU, and they're doing an amazing job and doing some research, and they have to give a presentation as part of their internship. So it'll be about a 10-minute presentation, but it's going to be amazing. These girls are phenomenal. We have just really enjoyed having them here. So we know you're going to enjoy that. They'll be giving their presentation first, and we hope you'll be able to join us, support of them and all the work that the college works with us, and we're able to do this. So we hope you'll join us for that. It's December the 3rd. I want to thank JT and Linda again. JT and Linda Knoll. Linda serves on the board, but they are always here to help set up the sound system and take care of anything that needs to be done. So we appreciate that, because we none of the rest of us are capable, so we appreciate it. Okay, just a little short update. Those of you who know about the drag line, someone's always asking what's happening. Well, the gentleman, the company that was going to be moving it was involved in an accident. It destroyed their big equipment, but I just heard from him actually this morning, and he has located another one, and it is in California. So he's going to be, I mean, you know, it's a one-of-a-kind piece. It's not like everybody sells these. So he's going to be heading out to California to get that piece, and then hopefully we'll be getting that drag line starting on that project soon. So. If you become a member, if you're not a member, we invite you to. It's inexpensive. It's $25 for an individual, $50 for a family. And you get a newsletter, you get updates, you get phone calls of all of our events, you get first chance at tickets, you get an annual dinner, which is magnificent. We always have wonderful entertainment. Every year we have some kind of entertainment at the program, so we hope you'll consider becoming a member. And one last thing, and I'm here pitching again, and this is the perfect time. We have been given a 7-foot screen which will fill up the whole front of the stage. It'll be a projector or a screen that will pull down. So you can imagine, rather than looking at this small TV, which was called a big screen, but now we're talking about 7 feet. But we have to raise the funds for the projector. And so there's a jar where you signed in. If you could drop $1 in, that'd be great. We're working towards getting that projector so that for our future event like this, you'll all be able to have a good view of everything that is performed up here instead of looking at that little screen there. So we thank you all for coming. There are snacks at the back and drinks, and there's one tray that is Croatian candies and cookies that were imported from Croatia. So you're welcome to try those. And then there's some of just our American snacks that are also back there in the drinks. And we thank you all for coming, and we appreciate it. We'll hope to see you for the next one.
Thank you, folks.